Well, hello there, and welcome to day 82 of A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. Today, I'm looking at the 2020... Actually, it is a 2021 documentary, Life in a Day 2020. This is quite standout or irregular insofar as it is a YouTube original documentary. And so it can be viewed and accessed by anyone who has access to YouTube. But what's remarkable about this is this is the second time this has been done, where in 2010 there was a Life in a Day video made, and what this is almost the same principle has been used, but knowingly within the fact that we are currently living within a pandemic and that has changed the structure of the world. Some weeks ago, I talked about the film The Social Dilemma, and The Social Dilemma really deconstructs the problems with social media, the problems with our constant need to access and present content for the internet, and how it is changing us socially, it's changing us psychologically, and it is having this really unpredictable effect to our well-being, the way we interact with other people, and society as a whole. But what I like about this is the antidote to that. That as hard as it is to disseminate and understand the progression of technology and social media and how this will grow and change, we conversely forget the fact that social media has brought people from across the world together and allows us to reach out to people who under normal circumstances there would be no opportunity to see their life and see them in their natural home. As I say, this is the second time this has been done. On this occasion, it was... So at the beginning of the documentary, it states that this was done 10 years ago, it has been done again, a call out was made for people to submit videos, and consequently 324,000 videos across 192 countries were submitted. And that is an extraordinary amount of information. I've talked a lot about sort of the role and function of a documentary feature film, and how that narrative works within cinema and the art of cinema and the art of filmmaking. And what really differentiates a documentary from narrative, I suppose, one of the key differences is the fact that there is no way for a documentarian, no great documentarian should be able to predict the ending of their documentary. Now, it's possible that many filmmakers who are making fiction films might not know the ending until they create it. You know, some directors haven't even come to their ending of their film until they've got to the editing process. But on some level, they will have an idea of what their story is and what it looks like and how it begins and how it ends. A documentary, really, there's no way for a documentarian, especially if they're charting something which is current and ongoing, and something like this, there's no way to know what the structure of this narrative will end up being until the material is in their hands. And the craftsmanship of the documentarian is being able to curate and disseminate that information to present a narrative that is engaging and yet relatable. I've talked a lot about documentaries over the course of this, that I've been interested in the subject matter, but as a documentary film, it's so-so. And the reason for that is simply because it might be that the subject matter is engaging, but the filmmaking is not as interesting as what it's presenting, and some documentarians can get away with that. They can allow their subject matter to be first and foremost, and if the structuring of the documentary isn't particularly strong, it doesn't matter, because people will engage with the subject matter as long as it's presented well. But what lifts the great documentarian is one who makes the format and structure and style of the documentary engage and just click into the mind of the viewer from beginning to end, and they find quirks and tricks within the style of the storytelling that keep audiences on their toes, engaged, stimulated, just something that keeps us constantly wanting to see where this documentary is going to go, or how it's going to touch us in a way that we might not expect. I mean, Kevin MacDonald is he's a well-known film and documentary film and fiction film director. I mean, going back to his Academy Award-winning documentary film One Night in September. You've got other documentaries like Whitney and Marley, which of course Whitney Houston and Bob Marley, but then you also have his fiction work with things like State of Play or The Last King of Scotland. So he understands how to... He is in a unique position insofar as he understands the narrative of a documentary in tandem with that of a fiction film, and how to put that together in a way that still it feels like it has the same beats and ups and downs as a fiction film. And so what Life in a Day 2020 does is the structure is very simple. It starts at midnight on the 25th of July 2020, and we just go from midnight to midnight. But what you get in this film is, it opens with a woman giving birth, the sonogram of a baby, and a man singing this beautiful song. And there's something really quite... it's supposed to have that sort of Genesis sense to it, that as the new day begins, life begins, and there's something very melodic and romantic and stylized to it. And the whole documentary isn't always so stylized, but he knows when to do that. He knows the point in which so it's a lot of different styles going on here, and there's we're following hundreds of people in hundreds of different videos, where some of them will be presented as a montage, where you see these remarkable montages of people doing farm work, or something like people kissing, or later when it gets to the more intensive stuff, you see like montages of demonstrations and protests and actual violence. And then you have other stories where we follow arcs of characters. Like there's a guy who wants to see or mark off every 8 different kinds of train, and he drives around this area in America where he is trying to capture each one of these trains. And over the course of the film, you keep coming back to this guy as he, this steam engine passes. He goes, and this is a proper train spotter. This is this kind of engine. That's the one. That's another one off my list. And some people you get small snapshots of, where you just get these almost like short films of just someone doing something very simple. Like there's a guy who wants to wave to this girl who he likes from across, but because of the pandemic he can't approach her, so he stands on a terrace hoping that she'll come out so he can wave to her, but then she doesn't come out, and it's beautifully comedic in that respect. Or you have really touching things like a woman whose son was in the original Life in a Day, and she shows the footage of it and then tells us about how he died because of COVID-19 or complications related to COVID-19. And it really shows us the breadth of the human experience, and there's this real sense of like music and colour, and it knows how to really show us, you know, taking something that has been given to Kevin McDonald has been given this information, and he's taken it and structured it in a way that makes it relatable and human and emotional on such a range. And we get to see all the corners of the world, you know, communities from all over the place, and it does veer into the political, where we see people who we think, oh well, I don't know if I'd like this person, but we see them, and again it shows how one day in everyone's world, you know, in the 7 billion people, the world of 7 billion people, can be so varied, and how something remarkable can happen every day. There's this fantastic montage of motion at one point where you have a guy flying his drone, which is also set against people skydiving, set against horse racing that's being filmed on some kind of GoPro, and it really, it's so characterful and rich and full of colour and tone, and it does go to some incredibly dark places, but it goes to some light ones as well. And again, it shows the pandemic, and it shows how people have struggled against it, and people have been affected by it, and how some people just have to keep living their lives around it and doing what they've always been doing. You know, farmers still have to do their jobs in spite of the difficulties, and so it really is such a interesting and powerful documentary, and I'm really pleased that it's been, I mean, you know, we're at a point now where we have access to all different kinds of streaming, and you know, we can easily view any kind of film, and if this series that I've been doing has shown anything, it's shown the ability to access stuff. But the fact that this is just available right now on YouTube it's so pleasing that this can be put out there in the world. And so I finally get to do something that I've not had the opportunity to do, which is I am going to link to the film in the description of this video, so you can click it, and I strongly recommend you do, because I think it really does, it brightened my day, and I think it's such a powerful and interesting watch. Anyway, so please do go to the description and find the film, but also while you're there, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go through the backlog of videos that I've put together. If you could also follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Woodley, I'd be very grateful. I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.